The island of Palm Beach, a 14-mile barrier island prone to flooding with nearly 10,000 residents to protect.
People think it's not going to be a big deal. I can ride it out. And it can become a big deal very quickly.
We have AI, but even that can't predict what's going to happen with these storms.
Be proactive, get all those things in order, get your plans in order. Expect and plan that there is going to be an event here.
Hurricane season has arrived, but before the first storm takes shape, the island's first responders are getting ready.
These are some of our other saws that we carry, so I'll make sure the blades are sharp on these and they're efficient for cutting things that are like hurricane windows or anything that would maybe in destruction or that we need to get out.
From sharpening tools to tightening plans, it's all about readiness. On Ahead of the Storm 2025, we'll share the hurricane forecast for the island, explore lessons learned from our West Coast neighbors, and outline the steps you can take to stay safe before, during, and after the storm. Ahead of the Storm 2025 is co-sponsored by the Palm Beach Police and Fire Foundation and the Palm Beach Civic Association.
Welcome to Ahead of the Storm 2025. I'm Sally Lewis. Once again, forecasters are predicting an above-average hurricane season driven by warmer than usual temperatures in the Atlantic. Whether you've weathered dozens of hurricanes or just moved to town, the time to prepare is now.
To gain a deeper understanding of the atmospheric patterns driving this year's forecast, we turn to our local ABC affiliate, WPBF, and meteorologist Glenn Glazer, who takes us through his data-driven approach.
Hello, town of Palm Beach. I'm First Warning Meteorologist Glenn Glazer, and here is your hurricane season forecast. This is our WPBF exclusive hurricane season forecast, and I was so excited to be invited back again this year to present this to you. If you are not familiar with our forecast, it is much different than any other forecast you probably have seen, but we're going to start with something that you're pretty familiar with if you pay attention to hurricane season at all, and that is the number of storms that we could see. Of course, there are a lot of different facilities, a lot of different organizations that put out different season forecasts. Colorado State and, of course, NOAA put out probably the two most popular forecasts when people look at the number of storms for a season. These are our numbers for this season here at WPBF. We are expecting about 16 to 20 named storms. The average is 14. We are forecasting 8 to 10 of those storms being hurricanes and 4 to 6 of those hurricanes becoming major hurricanes, which would be Category 3 or higher. We use a very particular kind of forecasting to come up with our forecast. It's a method of forecasting called the LRC, the LISAC Recurring Cycle. Some people remember it as the long range cycle. That's perfectly fine. And here's how it works. Using this method of forecasting, we watch carefully during October, November, and early December as the atmosphere sets itself into a pattern that then begins to repeat itself. We really focus on areas of low pressure because at the center of any tropical system is an area of low pressure. So we really focus on the areas of low pressure that develop. We watch each one carefully during October, November, and early December. We log them, we write down all the details about them, and then we watch for those areas to begin repeating themselves in a cycle. Once we figure out the duration of the cycle, how many days from the beginning of the cycle to when it starts to repeat itself, then we are able to plot that cycle on the calendar. So we know, in a sense, where areas of low pressure may develop and where they will move because we have seen them repeat themselves in a cycle starting in October and November over and over again all the way into the following year's hurricane season. So these areas of low pressure developed during October and November of 2024, and they have repeated themselves now into 2025. So these are areas of low pressure that we're going to watch carefully to redevelop this hurricane season. Because of where they developed, we have outlined pretty much the entire Gulf area here, from Texas all the way over to the west coast of Florida, a little bit around the Florida Keys there. And I know you might say to yourself, well, anybody can outline the entire Gulf, but we did it specifically for different times of the season. So the first low we're going to focus on here would be an area of low pressure that became Hurricane Oscar down near Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, as we got into October, and then when we watched this low pressure repeat itself, it did impact the Florida Keys, but it was accompanied by a second area of low pressure that developed up in the northern Gulf. And now, as we've watched this cycle over and over, both areas of low pressure continue to develop simultaneously in the pattern. And so here's when we think those areas of low pressure will return: June 18th through the 24th, July 29th through August 4th, and September 8th through the 15th in the areas highlighted in red. That doesn't mean it's going to become a storm every single time or a hurricane every time. It could just be a rain event of some sort, but we're going to watch carefully during these dates for these areas highlighted in red. Secondly, an area that developed in the Gulf, an area of low pressure on October 26th and moved up into Louisiana, and a couple times moved over to the west coast of Florida, and once or twice kind of split and went over to South Texas. So we have potential return dates for that area of low pressure, June 23rd through the 29th, August 3rd through the 9th, and September 11th through the 19th. We had Hurricane Raphael that developed in November. That area of low pressure continued to develop all the way through the end of last year into January and through the spring this year. We expect that area of low pressure to return June 6th through the 13th, July 18th through the 25th, and August 27th through September 5th in the area highlighted in red there from Louisiana over into the Big Bend part of Florida. And then you may recall near the end of the season last year, Tropical Storm Sarah with a whole bunch of spaghetti models that went across the Yucatan up through the Gulf and right into Florida. Everybody was watching this carefully because we'd already been through Debbie and Helene and Milton last year, and here comes another storm. But fortunately, Sarah fell apart over the Yucatan. However, Sarah's remnants did move all the way up into the panhandle of Florida. We have seen that pattern repeat June 13th through the 19th, July 24th through the 31st, and September 3rd through the 11th is when we are expecting to see that part of the pattern again. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to be a storm every single time. It could just be an area of low pressure producing some rainfall, but we're going to watch them carefully. So these are the highlighted areas. However, if you are anywhere else along the east coast of the U.S. or on the east coast of Florida more specifically, that doesn't mean you don't have to watch the tropics this season. We advise that if you are anywhere that is vulnerable to any kind of tropical system, you should always watch the tropics throughout hurricane season. Of course, we will be here too. If you want to take another look at these dates and the areas we have highlighted, all you have to do is go to WPBF.com. So it's great to talk to you again. Have a safe hurricane season, and we'll see you online and on TV. Take care.
And we thank Glenn for sharing his expertise with us once again. So hurricane season runs now through November 30th, but first responders are getting ready long before, right?
That's right, Sally. Palm Beach Fire Rescue begins its hurricane preparations several months in advance, checking and maintaining vehicles, supplies, and equipment.
Jared Wilson, Palm Beach Fire Rescue firefighter paramedic, says the department maintains a complete checklist of equipment and supplies to make sure everything is stocked and ready to go by the start of hurricane season on June 1st.
These are some of our units here. We're prepping them for hurricane season. So we make sure we have the right proper chains. The chains are sharp. We also have good excessive bars that are in the proper length that can cut the trees that we need to that are down and in the way if emergency vehicles need to get through or anything needs to happen for clearing a path. We have to make sure we're stocked up on our fuel and chain bar oil that we use for the units. So I go through and make sure everything's maintained. I'll go ahead and change out all the maintenance scheduled items before hurricane season, make sure everything's prepped and ready to go.
Assistant Fire Chief Joseph Sekula says the department begins updating its contact list of essential employees each year on May 1st. This ensures its ability to reach all of the employees before and after a storm passes over the island. The employees are advised to start making storm plans for their own homes and families immediately.
The unique thing about our employees is they have to create their plans without them being involved in them because all of our essential employees are subject to recall in case there is an impending storm or emergency here in the town. So they have to get their homes prepared now. They have to come up with their own plans now. If they're going to ride out the storm, they have to plan that they're not going to be there with their families to ride out the storm. If they're going to evacuate, they have to make their plans that they're not going to be evacuating with their families because they're subject to that recall to be here.
Next, the department secures any loose equipment and the building exterior at each of the town's 3 fire stations.
Every one of our stations has these gigantic bay doors behind me, right, which allows the units to come in and out freely, but they are fragile in heavy winds. So we have hurricane bracing, which are big posts that go from the floor to the ceiling that help with that. And we take them out, we inspect them, we install them, we operate them, and then we remove them, just to make sure that everything is operational, that everything is working the way it is.
Just as Palm Beach Fire Rescue is wasting no time getting its storm preparations in order, Assistant Fire Chief Sekula is urging town residents and business owners to be proactive and waste no time in getting your own plans and supplies in order now.
In a hurricane, timely information can save lives. That's why it's critical for Palm Beach residents to sign up for town alerts, real-time, location-specific notifications that keep you informed about evacuations, road closures, and storm conditions exactly where you are.
If you live in the north end, or specifically in the south end, or just in the middle, Midtown, we can send alerts just for your area. Right? So you choose what the alerts are that you want. But this way you're informed of everything that's going on here, right, in our own town, as opposed to having to go on the news and it's a more broader area that we're focusing on there.
Register for alerts through the town's website. Go to townofpalmbeach.com and under the How Do I tab, go to Register For and then click Alerts, News Releases, and Calendar Notices. From there, you can create an account and sign up for notifications tailored to your location and in the format you wish: email, text, or voice alerts, or all three. You can also click the Stay Connected tab. Also on the town's website, under the Emergency Services section, there's a dedicated tab for hurricane resources. There you'll find important information on what to stock up on now, such as canned food, bottled water, essential medications, and supplies for your pets.
What do I need in my kit? What do I need? Where do I evacuate? What is my zone? The weather preparedness link on the Town of Palm Beach website will have you go directly to the sources. So we'll send you to Palm Beach County for exactly where the evacuation sites are. It has the National Hurricane Center information tools on there. So really, as everyone's saying prepare, how do I prepare? You go right to that site and it'll tell you exactly what you need, down to the point of what you should need to get through for 72 hours individually.
You can also stay connected through Palm Beach County's Emergency Operations Center. There you can sign up for alerts and click through a long list of hurricane resources. The state provides guidance through floridadisaster.org. Once you've gathered the information and supplies you'll need to stay safe, the next critical step is securing your home.
Now is the time to make sure that your generator is functioning properly. Now is the time to take a walk around your yard and make sure that potential debris that could fly away in a hurricane is secure. Now is the time to trim your trees and your shrubs to protect your home and property from falling branches and falling trees. Now is the time to make sure that if you're using hurricane panels, that all your panels are available and ready to go. Those are all things to make sure your home is prepared should a storm approach.
Business owners also have specific plans and concerns to consider. The state offers a hurricane business toolkit to help you prepare and protect your operations.
The businesses and even the construction community, think about what it would be if you cannot run your business for days or weeks, even as we've seen over on the West Coast. What will your employees do? What are they relying on? So this should be part of your continuity of operations plan to prepare. So how do I handle payroll at my job? What do I do if I can't get back on the island to check for my inventory, so on and so forth?
Now's the time to fill out the form for the town's emergency reentry list. It's intended for out-of-town residents, business owners, or designated property representatives. The application should be completed and submitted to the town now using the link provided on the Hurricane Resources page under Emergency Reentry Program. If you have a Florida driver's license with a Palm Beach address, you do not need to fill out the application. As a storm approaches, timing and awareness become critical. Monitor the National Hurricane Center's Atlantic monitoring map for any tropical activity. Understanding the difference between a hurricane watch and a warning is key to taking the right steps at the right time. A watch means conditions are possible, it's time to be alert and ready. A warning means the storm is expected and immediate action is necessary. The town will issue an evacuation order when a hurricane warning is declared.
If the evacuation notice is sent out, heed the warning, because there's only a certain point where fire rescue can respond. We cannot go out over 65 miles an hour. After 65 miles an hour, our trucks actually are a very high profile vehicle. The winds could flip them over. We've been in storms before where the eye wall was approaching and we were out doing some last minute security, and by the time we went back to the truck was listing, right? And these are big engines, so we cannot help you if we can't get to you. So that's the point that we shut down operations.
Important to know in advance, Palm Beach is in Evacuation Zone B.
We're surrounded by water, and it is just as likely that the water is going to come up from the intracoastal as it is from the ocean. There is a very real likelihood that depending on the size and strength of the storm, that the whole island could go underwater. There's also a lot of large mature trees that can fall and block the roadways. We're working towards undergrounding, but we're not there yet. So there could be power lines, utility lines down to block your access, and it also blocks our access of responding to victims that are in need of assistance.
At the heart of the town's emergency response is the Emergency Operations Center, or EOC.
The EOC, it's a Cat 5 building. We can withstand any storms here. If we have to evacuate, we'll go remote and we'll come back here. But the room you'll see behind us has computers and telephones at every station, so we can coordinate the recovery efforts from here. We can have permitting come through here. Each desk can coordinate to their connection in Palm Beach County's EOC. It can also connect to the state, so we'll have a direct hotline. 2 resources to get them to and from town. To residents, the rumor control line could be manned in here, the storm line, if you will be manned from here. So this room really has the ability to kind of be the hub or the network for all kinds of information. The town manager can run the entire town from here if need be.
Palm Beach Fire Rescue drew valuable lessons in 2022 after responding to a statewide call for help on the west coast of Florida after Hurricane Ian made landfall on September 28th. 3 members of the force were deployed in an ambulance and 4 others by fire engine to help rescue people in the small, unincorporated community of Iona, a few miles east of Fort Myers Beach. It was completely devastated by the storm.
There was a lot of senseless or needless loss of life because people didn't follow the instructions of the local authorities and did not evacuate when they were in an evacuation zone. There was a huge tidal, storm surge that covered the island, and a lot of people lost their lives because they weren't prepared or they didn't follow the advice of their elected officials. We all work together as a team. The police department, fire rescue, everybody has their own roles and responsibilities, but we all work together as a team to get the island secured and open and back to normal operation as quickly as possible.
The most common question first responders in Palm Beach are asked is, after a storm, how can I get back on the island? To ensure a safe and orderly return, the town follows a phased reentry program.
Initially, there's going to be nobody allowed, and then homeowners will be allowed, and business owners, and then gradually employees will be able to come over to assist with the business owner. We've had instances in the past where large portions of the island get power back and get back to normal, but sections might not have power. So we might have, say, the north end closed off because there's no power up there. No power means no alarm systems, no security systems. So we want to maintain safety and security are 2 main priorities, and security, obviously, without power is an issue.
You can download the phased reentry list in the Hurricane Resources section of the town's website. As recovery begins, it is critical to be signed up for town alerts. These notifications will tell you when it's safe to return, which areas are accessible, and what conditions you can expect.
Every single storm is different. Every storm is different. The size, the intensity, if it's a windstorm, it's a rain event, each storm is unique. So that's why we say stay connected, because it's so dynamic.
We as a town, between the police department and the fire department and the town, we've been through this. We've planned for it, we've practiced it, we've experienced it. We know how to respond to these situations. We just need the community's cooperation in responding to them. We're trying to get the town back as quickly as possible. We want everybody to be back in their homes as quickly as possible, but it takes time.
No matter what 2025 brings, stay informed, stay prepared, and together we'll be ready ahead of the storm. Thank you for watching.